welcome to this incredible meeting, to the Miracle Work 3 Practitioner Training. And so today I want to get started immediately with a lesson. It's quite a big lesson to read, but it's so great to let it happen. So that is our introduction. I just wanted to get started. That's why I couldn't. Yeah, it is still early, I know, but so I wanted to introduce this meeting with a lesson, and that's such a great lesson. It's such a nice introduction to this what we do. It's very beautiful. So I'm using this as our meditation and as our introduction to this meeting, to really bring it home all together. That's so cool. You probably know it very well, but I still love it like it is the best lesson for me. So it's lesson 183 in the Urtext is page 378, Urtext Manuscripts. So it's lesson 183. I will be still an instant. No, I will be still a moment and go home. I will be still a moment and go home. This world you seem to live in is not your home to you. And somewhere in your mind you know that this is true. A memory of home keeps haunting you, as if there were a place which called you to return, although you do not recognize the voice, nor what it is the voice reminds you of. Yet still you feel an alien here, and somewhere all unknown. Nothing so definite that you could say with certainty that you are an exile here. Just a persistent feeling, sometimes not more than a tiny throb, at other times hardly remembered, actively dismissed, but surely to return to mind again. No one knows whereof we speak. No one but knows whereof we speak. Yet some try to put by their suffering in games they play to occupy their time and keep their sadness from them. Others will deny that they are sad and do not recognize their tears at all. Still others will maintain that what we speak of is illusion, not to be considered more than but a dream. Yet who in simple honesty, without defensiveness and self-deception, would deny he understands the words we speak? We speak today for everyone who walks this world, for he is not at home. He goes uncertainly about in endless search, seeking in darkness what he cannot find, not recognizing what it is he seeks. 1,000 homes he makes, yet none contests his restless mind. He does not understand he built in vain. The home he seeks cannot be made by him. There is no substitute for heaven. All he ever made was hell. Perhaps you think it is your childhood home that you would find again. The childhood of your body and its place of shelter are a memory now so distorted that you merely hold a picture of a past that never happened. Yet there is a child in you who seeks his father's house and knows that he is alien here. This childhood is eternal, with an innocence that will endure forever. Where this child shall go is holy ground. It is his holiness that lights up heaven, and that brings to earth the pure reflection of the light above, wherein are earth and heaven joined as one. It is this child in you your Father knows as his own son. It is this child who knows his Father. He desires to go home so deeply, so unceasingly. His voice cries unto you to let him rest a while. He does not ask for more than just a few instants of respite, just an interval in which he can return to breathe again the holy air that fills his Father's house. You are his home as well. He will return, but give him just a little time to be himself, within the peace that is his home, resting in silence and in peace and in love. This child needs your protection. He is far from home, and he's so little that he seems so easily shut out, his tiny voice so readily obscured, his call for help, his calls for help almost unheard amid the grating sounds and harsh and rasping noises of the world. Yet does he know that in you still abides his sure protection. You will fail him not. He will go home, and you along with him. This child is your defenselessness, your strength. He trusts in you. He came because he knew you would not fail. He whispers of his home unceasingly to you. For he would bring you back with him, that he himself might stay and not return again where he does not belong. And he lives an outcast in a world of alien thoughts, where he lives an outcast in a world of alien thoughts. His patience has no limits. He will wait until you hear his gentle voice within you, calling you to let him go in peace, along with you, to where he is at home, and you with him. When you are still an instant, when the world recedes from you, when valueless ideas cease to have value in your restless mind, then will you hear his voice. So poignantly he calls to you that you will not resist him longer. In that instant he will take you to his home, and you will stay with him in perfect stillness, silent and at peace beyond all words, untouched by fear and doubt, sublimely certain that you are at home. So rest today, rest with him frequently today, for he was willing to become a little child, that you might learn of him how strong is he who comes without defenses, offering only love's messages to those who think he is their enemy. He holds the might of heaven in his hand and calls them friend, and gives his strength to them, that they may see he would be the friend to them. He asks, but they protect him, for his home is far away, and he will not return to it alone. Christ is reborn, but as but a little child, each time a wanderer would leave his home. For he must learn that what he would protect is but this child, who comes defenseless and who is protected by defenselessness. Go home with him from time to time today. You are as much an alien here as he. Take time today to lay aside your shield which profits nothing, and lay down the spear and sword you raised against an enemy without existence. Christ has called you friend and brother. He has even come to you to ask your help in letting him go home completely and completed. He has come as does a little child who must beseech his Father for protection and for love. He rules the universe, and yet he asks unceasingly that you return with him and take illusions as your gods no more. You have not lost your innocence. It is for this you yearn. This is your heart's desire. This is the voice you hear, and this the call which cannot be denied. The Holy Child remains with you. His home is yours. Today, He gives you His defenselessness, and you accept it in exchange for all the toys of battle you have made. And now the way is open, and the journey has an end in sight at last. Be still a moment and go home with Him, and be at peace a while. I will be still a moment and go home. So that's what we're going to do for just a moment. So thank you for listening. Right. Thank you. Thank you for this. Wow. So I had to share this. That's why I love to read it and give it away, so to speak. So today, continuing in our training, let me see what we got here. I got my manual for teachers that I wanted to open up and read to you the little part about the next part is honesty, I think, that we have. Yes. So there was trust, that was last week. Honesty is this week. It is a pretty short section. So I'm reading it and see if there's anything that I want to share. So the most, say, important part of this honesty story, so to speak, is the idea of consistency. You might have recognized that. Consistency. So I'll get back to that in a minute. It is such an incredible, it's like also a key to enter into heaven. This is one of the keys, honesty. All the other traits of God's teachers rest on trust. Once that has been achieved, the others cannot fail to follow. So only the trusting can afford honesty, for only they can see its value. Honesty does not apply only to what you say. The term actually means consistency. There's nothing you say that contradicts what you think or what you do. So these are the three. It's like what you say, what you think, what you do are one thing. So that's consistency. No thought opposes any other thought. No act belies your word. And no word lacks agreement with another. Such are the truly honest. At no level are they in conflict with themselves. Therefore, it is impossible for them to be in conflict with anyone or anything. Well, that sounds very easy. So any questions? So just do that. Just do that. Like, wow, consistency. So I use this a lot just for myself to check out what am I doing. It's like, okay, so what I say and what I do and what I think is that one thing. And you see, like, well, doesn't seem to be always possible. So you make a little bargain with yourself. And that's where the trouble kicks in. Because then there's a conflict. So you're not saying what you think, for instance. Just one of the, if you see it as a triangle, the triangle works perfectly, the Trinity works perfectly. But if you take one out, then it doesn't work that perfect. So that is, if I don't say what I feel or think, I'm actually in conflict because I didn't express it. So you allow other voices to speak for you. So you actually give them the power to speak to you and accept that as your voice. And that doesn't feel good. I don't know. So who has a problem with that? Anyone? So Peg doesn't have a problem with that. Oh, that's wonderful. No, I go too quick. I don't go too quick. So you can say something about that later on. And I will try not to mention any names. I will erase them out of the audio. So the thing is then, because I want to continue this, and then we can react and respond and share. So that was one example. If you don't say what you think and feel for yourself as what you have to share, actually. So if you say something, and this is very common in people that are following a spiritual teaching, is that you say something that you actually don't think yourself, and that you hope to apply, but actually not even knowing how that's supposed to work. So then you say great, beautiful things, but then it has no foundation because it misses the connection with you, with your experience, with your doing and thinking. So that doesn't do a lot either. You know, that's also conflict, but in a different way. So what is the other variety is then you do different things than what you think and say. You say, yes, sure, I'm going to do that. But then you do something else. So where's the problem with that? Anyone? Yeah, so you say, yes, I will do that, and then you don't do that. You forget, or whatever your way of doing is. Like, no, I really did forget that. I promised you to do it, but I didn't do it. I actually forgot. So this has everything to do with honesty. So the consistency, then, if that is all one thing, then you're honest, basically. Otherwise you have a conflict. You're not saying, or you're not doing, or no, you're not thinking the way that you actually behave, or that you actually think, or that you actually act. So that's interesting too. So you look at one issue that you have in your life right now that you think like, oh, that's a bit of a conflict. I have no idea how to deal with that. And see if you can relate it to these three pillars, so to speak. You'll see like, oh yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, that's not completely, no, I really didn't say that. Yeah, I thought about it and I did my thing, but I actually didn't express myself in doing it. Or who knows what your conflict is. So that's all good material to work with, isn't it? So we're getting really to the basics of it. So it says here in the beginning, and that's really lovely too, it's like the basis of all of this is the idea of trust. So we looked at that. So you go through different stages of trust, and see, depending on where you find yourself in your trust cycle, so to speak, you see that you start to experiment with this, and you try to do it as consistent as possible, and you have really good intentions too. But then sometimes you still bump your head against something, and then, or it happens regularly, or who knows how that is for you. But then you see that, oh, now I got like a real, say, some kind of tool to look at myself in doing this. Not that you need to examine yourself all day long, but if you have a conflict, you can say, you can discover for yourself, oh yes, this part is really missing in this whole story. So this is my opportunity to step it up for myself, or to come back to consistency, because I want to be at peace. I don't want to have any conflicts in my mind, and so anything that can help is really welcome. So it's very practical in that sense too, but still, like I said, it's based on trust, and not just trusting yourself, but more like trusting real trust, like real trust. It's like coming to experience your certainty. See, then when that is complete, when your certainty is complete and you don't have a doubt about that, then the honesty is immediately there. That's then you have nothing to lose anymore. It's a bit like that. Like you have complete trust. So it's like, it is going to be given how to respond, and you trust that completely, and you will do that no matter what the consequences, what consequences you can come up with, because you actually don't think that way anymore. And you might recognize that too. So let's see what the second paragraph says. Peace of mind, which the advanced teacher of God experiences, is largely due to their perfect honesty. It is only the wish to deceive that makes for war. No one, at one with himself, can even conceive of conflict. Conflict is the inevitable result of self-deception. And self-deception is dishonesty. There is no challenge to a teacher of God. Challenge implies doubt, and the trust on which God's teachers rest secure makes doubt impossible. Therefore they can only succeed. In this, as in all things, they are honest. They can only succeed because they never do their will alone. They choose for all mankind, for all the world and all things in it, for the unchanging and unchangeable beyond appearances, and for the Son of God and His Creator. How could they not succeed? They choose in perfect honesty, sure of their choice of themselves. Okay, so well, for what it's worth, we're reading this. So it's like the advanced teacher of God. What is that? What is that supposed to mean? And what is a teacher of God? You know, everyone, it says in the beginning of the manual for teachers, everyone that says he is a teacher of God, he's a teacher of God. He's in fact open to receive that for himself. So, and then it is like learning how to rely on your certainty. You start to become trustworthy. Otherwise, it is changing all the time. It's like, no, wait a minute. I'm not going to be confused with appearances anymore. So we have been training that. We have been looking at that. We have been dealing with that. See, this is really what really fits into an idea of practitioner training. And which is what a teacher of God in fact is, the practical application of what you have learned and coming from your certainty in extending this, and not from your own will, but you go beyond your, say, separate will that you think can be separate. So then this part is then totally helpful in the sense, okay, we can work with the idea of consistency. Like that is what we're taking in our account for training, for using that as a training device for ourselves, to take a look at how am I doing the things. Like, for instance, and also don't forget, this is like you get great help because a lot of practical situations are going to help you to become consistent, to learn to become consistent. So for me, for instance, it was like when I started my painting business, when I lived in the United States, it's like when I started my painting business, that was totally for my consistency in learning to do exactly what I promised to do, and not going for a shortcut, but just doing exactly what people wanted me to do. Okay, here's the result. This is what you asked for. This is the result. Oh, it's not the right color. Okay, I will do it again. So here is the result. It's exactly what you asked for. It's like just for myself to come into learning in a very practical way to just do what I say. That was like quite a lesson for me, I can tell you that. But see, it's like even in that very practical ways, it is given to you to learn these things. And that's, yeah, for one it is this, and for the others it is that. So maybe you recognize something that's going on in your life in which you can perfectly say, exercise this fact of this idea of consistency. All right, so enough said, so to speak. We're getting into the practice now, into the sharing, and how is it going? Where are we with our exercises and assignments and all that? Okay, so I will still be recording, so you can open your microphones if you want to, because it's like feel free to share what if you want to respond to what I just said, or maybe have examples of how you are in a learning situation where you can actually practice this, or maybe you want to share the beautiful poem you wrote about the parts I was asking for last week, if you still remember the wishes that you still have, something like that. I don't know exactly what the assignment was, but maybe you worked with it.